Stop whatever you're doing, because what allegedly happened inside that Atlanta courtroom may go down as one of the most humiliating public unravelings in modern celebrity culture. This wasn't a red carpet slip-up or a careless tweet. This was a moment so raw, so emotionally violent, that even people hardened by years of scandal coverage reportedly sat frozen in their seats. Cameras weren't supposed to be rolling. Audio wasn't meant to leave the room. But when betrayal meets leaks in the age of social media, privacy becomes a myth. And when the names Tiny, T.I., and Shakina collide in the same sentence, the internet doesn't just watch, it devours. What witnesses claim unfolded that day wasn't simply a courtroom procedure gone wrong. It was a collapse, a public reckoning. A woman realizing in real time that the life she defended for years may have been built on illusion. And once the first sound played through those speakers, there was no going back. Before we go any further, it's important to say this clearly. Everything you're about to hear is based on allegations, leaked materials, anonymous sources, and public reaction. Nothing in this story has been fully adjudicated or legally confirmed, but the impact? That part is very real. According to multiple eyewitness accounts, the energy inside the courtroom shifted the instant the alleged leaked recordings were referenced. Up until that point, it was business as usual, legal language, controlled emotions, procedural calm. But when attorneys mentioned audio evidence that the public had never heard, the temperature in the room reportedly dropped. Tiny, who had been composed just moments earlier, was said to go visibly still, hands trembling, breathing shallow, eyes locked forward as if bracing for impact. Then came the question that would change everything. Should the audio be played? Witnesses claim there was a pause so long it felt intentional, as if everyone understood that once the sound began, there would be no undoing the damage. And then, in a voice barely above a whisper, Tiny allegedly said one word: "Play it." What followed has been described not just as audio, but as an emotional ambush. Voices filled the room, laughter that sounded too easy, whispers that felt too intimate, a tone so casual, so comfortable, that people in the gallery reportedly exchanged looks of disbelief. This wasn't a misunderstanding. This wasn't something that could be brushed off as out of context. According to those present, it sounded like familiarity built in secrecy. Gasps rippled through the courtroom. Someone allegedly raised a phone to record despite warnings from the judge. Another person clutched their chest in shock. And Tiny? She reportedly covered her mouth, her eyes darting straight toward T.I., who sat stone-faced, unmoving, unreadable. That's when the dam broke. Witnesses say Tiny pointed directly at him and shouted, "You embarrass me." The judge slammed the gavel, demanding order, but it didn't matter. The sound had already done its work. The humiliation wasn't theoretical anymore. It was public, permanent. What made the moment even more devastating was the realization that this wasn't the first time these names had been connected. Longtime followers of celebrity gossip remember whispers dating back years, rumors that were laughed off, denied, or buried under the weight of image management. Back during the reality show era, fans noticed tension between Tiny and Shakina that never quite made sense. At the time, it was framed as business disagreements, creative differences, or simple friendship fallout. Now, with these alleged recordings surfacing, those old moments look very different. Anonymous insiders claim that even back then, the closeness between T.I. and Shakina raised eyebrows behind the scenes. Late nights, private conversations, studio sessions that extended far beyond music. None of it was ever proven, and all parties denied wrongdoing. But denial only works until something tangible appears, and according to the internet, that tangible proof arrived in the form of leaked audio. Social media immediately began stitching together old clips, interviews, and behind-the-scenes footage, reframing years of interactions under a new, darker lens. Moments once dismissed as harmless suddenly looked calculated, and for many fans, the most painful realization wasn't just the alleged affair, it was how long it may have been happening right under everyone's nose. One of the biggest unanswered questions remains the same: who leaked the tapes and why now? Sources claim the recordings were never meant for public consumption. They were allegedly part of private legal proceedings, intended only for attorneys and court officials. So how did they end up in the hands of gossip pages, reaction channels, and TikTok detectives? Theories exploded overnight. One suggests someone inside T.I.'s inner circle sold the files for a quick payout, possibly out of resentment or financial desperation. Another theory places the blame closer to the center, alleging that Shakina herself leaked the audio to stay relevant, fully aware that chaos equals attention in the digital age. There's no confirmation of either claim, but one thing is clear: whoever released those recordings understood the timing perfectly. The leak surfaced just before Tiny's testimony, ensuring maximum emotional damage and public spectacle. This wasn't accidental, it was surgical. And once the files hit the internet, there was no containing the fallout. Within minutes of the courtroom story breaking, social media went into full meltdown mode. Hashtags trended globally, reaction videos multiplied by the hour. TikTok creators dissected every syllable of the alleged audio, analyzing tone, pacing, and familiarity like forensic experts. Old photos resurfaced. Event appearances were scrutinized. Even background noises from past videos were compared in an attempt to establish timelines. Public opinion split sharply. Some fans rallied around Tiny, expressing heartbreak and outrage on her behalf. Others took a harsher stance, accusing her of ignoring red flags for years. "Love makes you blind" became a recurring theme across comment sections. Shakina's social media, meanwhile, turned into a digital battlefield. While she went live claiming victimhood and manipulation, viewers weren't convinced. Every inconsistency was clipped, reposted, and slowed down for analysis. The story stopped being about facts and started being about emotion. People projected their own experiences of betrayal onto the narrative, turning the scandal into communal therapy disguised as entertainment. Insiders claim that after the audio played, Tiny refused to continue her statement. She reportedly stood up, overwhelmed, and stormed out of the courtroom, muttering, "Y'all can have each other." Outside, cameras caught her in full emotional collapse, tears streaming, makeup smeared, yelling at someone just off frame. One line, allegedly shouted through sobs, cut straight through the noise. "You knew about it, didn't you?" That single clip exploded online, reaching millions of views in less than a day. Paparazzi froze her pain into thumbnails. Bloggers turned it into headlines. The internet did what it always does, turned heartbreak into content. T.I.'s response, or lack thereof, only fueled the fire. Aside from a cryptic black and white post reading, "Focus on legacy, not lies," he remained silent. Comments were turned off. No denial, no apology. For many viewers, the silence spoke louder than words. As the days passed, the consequences began stacking up. Brands quietly paused collaborations. Radio stations reportedly pulled music, if only symbolically. Industry insiders whispered about stalled deals and frozen negotiations. Meanwhile, Tiny did something no one expected. She disappeared. No Instagram lives, no cryptic captions, no public statements, just silence. And in a culture addicted to noise, that silence was deafening. Then, without warning, she posted a single photo, Tiny standing with her children, calm, composed, grounded. The caption read, "Healing looks good on us." No hashtags, no explanation, no shade. The post became one of the most liked images on her profile almost instantly. Fans called it a digital mic drop. Media outlets labeled it a rebirth moment. In a scandal fueled by chaos, serenity became the most powerful statement of all. As weeks passed, the frenzy slowly burned itself out, replaced by newer scandals and fresher outrage. But the shift remained. Tiny was no longer viewed as a side character or a perpetual victim. She emerged as a symbol of resilience, someone who endured public humiliation and chose dignity over spectacle. Shakina eventually resurfaced with tearful explanations and claims of manipulation, but the audience had moved on. The internet doesn't forgive easily, and receipts don't expire. Every repost of that courtroom moment served as a reminder of how quickly loyalty can decay when fame is involved. T.I., meanwhile, attempted to pivot back to music, releasing tracks centered on lessons learned and personal growth. The response was lukewarm at best. Fans flooded comment sections with reminders that accountability can't be rhymed away. Silence became his primary PR strategy, not by choice, but by necessity. However, people kept saying the same thing over and over. If that video had been sent privately, if it had been handled behind closed doors, this could have been one painful conversation instead of a global humiliation. But that didn't happen. Instead, the clip was uploaded, reposted, stitched, and dissected within minutes. And at the center of the chaos was Clifford T.I. Harris, dragged straight into the storm with Shakina Anderson right beside him. Not just any woman, but the same Shakina the world once knew as Tiny's closest friend, her trusted confidant, the person allowed inside her home, her family, and her life. From that moment forward, the Harris empire began to shake. This wasn't whispered gossip or blurry speculation that could be brushed off as internet lies. This was raw, unfiltered footage that told its own story without needing commentary. Viewers claimed they could see champagne bottles scattered across a glossy hotel table, curtains barely pulled shut, and an atmosphere that felt intimate in a way that couldn't be explained away. And right there, unmistakable to many, were T.I. and Shakina, tangled in an embrace that instantly shattered an image built over decades. For years, T.I. had preached loyalty, family values, respect, and standing by your partner through anything. Those themes weren't just part of his music, they were part of his brand. Interviews, speeches, public appearances all reinforced the same narrative: a man of principle, a man of family. But in the span of a single leaked clip, that carefully maintained image cracked wide open. Fans who had defended him through past controversies suddenly went silent, unsure how to rationalize what they were seeing. Others felt outright betrayed, saying this time felt different. This time, there was no spin strong enough to save him. Almost instantly, the internet went to work. People began splicing the leaked footage with old interviews of Tiny, clips where she spoke passionately about trust, loyalty, and standing by her man no matter what. Each edit made the betrayal feel sharper, heavier, and more personal. What had once lived as playful gossip on blogs transformed overnight into a digital earthquake, turning a private heartbreak into a public spectacle that millions couldn't look away from. But Tiny wasn't about to disappear quietly or play the role people often expect from women in moments like this. There were no vague captions, no cryptic prayer emojis, no sudden social media silence meant to signal pain without explanation. Instead, she showed up. When Tiny stepped into the courthouse, her head was held high, even as tears sat heavy in her eyes. There was pain written all over her face, but there was also something else: resolve. Reporters swarmed her instantly. Cameras flashed from every direction, capturing every emotion she tried and failed to hide. It was the look of a woman who had given decades of loyalty, defended her marriage through storms, and now stood watching it unravel in front of the entire world. And then came the headline that stopped everyone cold. Tiny had filed what many were already calling the betrayal lawsuit of the decade. $50 million. That was the number echoing across newsrooms and timelines. A massive lawsuit filed against both T.I. and Shakina, accusing them of emotional abuse, ultimate betrayal, and publicly humiliating her on a global scale. Reporters repeated the figure in disbelief. 50 wasn't just a legal move, it was a statement. Tiny was putting a price on her broken home, her shattered trust, and the damage done to her name and her family. Just when it seemed like the courtroom couldn't possibly hold more tension, the scandal took an even darker turn. Whispers spread about an anonymous source delivering new evidence, something personal, something explosive. And then it happened. A diary allegedly written by Shakina herself was introduced. When excerpts were read aloud, the room reportedly went completely silent. One line in particular cut through the air like a blade. "Clifford promised me he'd leave Tiny. He told me we'd rule the industry together." According to witnesses, the impact was immediate and devastating. Tiny broke down, collapsing into tears as she cried out that they had destroyed her life, stolen her family, and mocked everything she had built with her husband. Clips of that breakdown spread online within minutes. Millions watched, many crying along with her. In that moment, Tiny stopped being seen as just a celebrity wife caught in scandal. She became a symbol. To many women watching, she represented every betrayal they'd ever lived through. The internet crowned her the tragic queen of heartbreak, and support flooded in from everywhere. But Tiny wasn't ready to let that narrative stand uncontested. His legal team responded with a shocking claim, arguing that the hotel footage was a setup. According to them, Shakina orchestrated the entire situation, staging the moment and manipulating the situation for clout, attention, and money. Gasps reportedly filled the courtroom as the accusation landed. Shakina didn't stay silent. She shot back just as fiercely, insisting that T.I. manipulated her instead. According to her, he promised love, a future, and freedom from his marriage. She believed him, trusted him, and now was being sacrificed to save his reputation. In an instant, two women who once called each other sisters were standing on opposite sides of the courtroom, fighting not just for truth, but for dignity in front of the world. Outside the courtroom, the internet showed absolutely no mercy. Shakina's Instagram became a digital battlefield, flooded with insults, accusations, and memes branding her as the villain of a modern-day tragedy. Every post was overwhelmed with comments calling her a snake, a homewrecker, and worse. Meanwhile, Tiny's image shifted completely. Murals appeared across Atlanta declaring justice for Tiny. Supporters flooded social media with messages of love, empathy, and solidarity. The moment that froze the internet came when Tiny was seen leaving the courthouse holding her daughter's hand. Her voice trembled as she looked down at her child and said, "Look what your father did to us. Look how he destroyed our home." That clip didn't just trend, it stopped people in their tracks. Suddenly, this wasn't just celebrity drama, it was a family tragedy unfolding in real time, broadcast to millions. The fallout was swift and brutal. Endorsements quietly disappeared, appearances were canceled, fans gathered outside properties demanding accountability. Shakina's reputation burned almost overnight, while Tiny, though visibly broken, stood taller with each passing day. Then came another bombshell. Tiny's legal team introduced alleged audio recordings of T.I. whispering, "Just keep it quiet. Tiny can never know. If this gets out, everything I built is gone." Gasps echoed through the courtroom as the audio played. Reporters scrambled, nearly tripping over each other to post the quote online in real time. Hotel receipts followed, allegedly tying Shakina directly to luxury reservations under T.I.'s name. By the second day, the trial no longer felt like gossip or speculation. Screenshots, recordings, receipts, and testimonies stacked up, transforming whispers into documented accusations. The courtroom felt less like a place of law and more like a stage where an empire was collapsing in front of the world. When Shakina finally took the stand, the tension was suffocating. Shaking but defiant, she admitted through tears that she never intended to hurt Tiny. She claimed T.I. promised her everything, telling her Tiny was holding him back. Her words sent shockwaves through the gallery. Some hissed under their breath. Others sat frozen, stunned by the confession. Tiny's lawyers responded with screenshots of alleged private messages between Shakina and T.I., messages that suggested planning, secrecy, and disregard for the damage being done. The courtroom erupted. Tiny broke down again, crying out that she couldn't take anymore. Her pain was raw, unfiltered, and devastating to witness. By the third week, the case no longer resembled a legal proceeding. It looked like a Shakespearean tragedy playing out live. Protesters filled the streets, helicopters hovered overhead, influencers live-streamed every twist to millions. Every tear, every scream, every gasp became content. Financial records allegedly surfaced showing money transfers between T.I. and Shakina, fueling speculation that the relationship went far deeper than anyone admitted. The courtroom gasped as numbers lit up on screens. Shakina sobbed, insisting it wasn't about money. The internet wasn't convinced. This wasn't just another celebrity cheating scandal, it was a public unmasking, a case study in how image, loyalty, and power collapse under the weight of truth, real or perceived. Tiny's story resonated because it tapped into something universal, the fear of realizing too late that the people you trusted most were never on your side. In the end, the courtroom didn't just witness a breakdown, it witnessed a transformation. Because you can't embarrass someone who already knows their worth. And in a world where every moment is monetized, choosing peace might be the most radical move of all. The storm may have quieted, but the lesson lingers. In Hollywood and everywhere else, every breakdown has a backstory, and this one will be talked about for a long time to come.